On this month's episode of GroupCollect the Podcast, our very own Bryce Wilson stops by to help us take the GroupCollect Summer Survey and tell us a bit about his role of sales and business development. We also sit down with Frank Stroup of Travel with Barb, a GroupCollect Register user who's so knowledgeable of the system he's earned the title of Portal Master. You gotta check it all out right here on GroupCollect the Podcast. All right, everybody, and welcome to GroupCollect the Podcast. This is your June 2025 edition. I am your host, Eric Young, coming to you, as always, from Orlando, Florida, joined by my co-hosts, Ryan Kramer in Weymouth, Massachusetts, Kathleen Lyles from our company headquarters in St. Augustine, and today we have a very special co-host, actually the first returning guest on GroupCollect the Podcast. Everyone give it up for GroupCollect Sales and Business Development Specialist, Bryce Wilson. How are you today, my man?
I'm doing well. Thank you for the intro, Eric. I appreciate that.
Yes. I don't know if you noticed, but you are a sales and business development specialist now.
So I've been told. But yeah, no, I'm happy to be here. I'm happy to be with Group Collect, and I've got that title that just kind of leaves off the specialist part. But I'm glad that you included that, so I can now properly identify my role. So thank you for that.
Well, you have a very special set of skills.
Well, thank you, my.
We are very grateful to have that on the team, and we are very grateful to have that on the show today. We have a wonderful show. We're gonna jump right into it because, folks, we are going to take our own GroupCollect Register Summer Survey. So Bryce, we're gonna kick things off with you. What do you think is the most valuable GroupCollect Register best practice that you like to share with people that use the system?
Sure, that's a great question, Eric. I would say, in part, that is definitely a varying answer, depending on how everybody does business, right? There's so many different ways to collect information to facilitate, your business practices. But as simple as it may sound, I think that one thing for me I see as vitally important is the ability to ask multiple types of questions in our system,
Mm.
and ask them in a way that is easy for people to collect information, right? So it seems simple, it sounds simple, but the question types are a big deal. The yes or no, single line text, the multi-selection. I think all those things allow people to really gather proper information to be able to, assist their travelers in the best way possible. So I see that being a really important and flexible piece that our system has to offer.
So the questionnaires feature that
Yes.
you can make either required questions or now optional questions that will show up no matter
Right.
what, uh, as per last month's latest developments. How about over to you, Kaplan? What do you think? I think you've had a few of these conversations before in the past, haven't you?
Just a
Talking to
few, yes.
as the,
Um,
the account manager. What is the ultimate group collect register best practice that you love to share?
so mine is going to be just education. So anyone who's been onboarded, my favorite thing is just to take some time to really educate you and teach you everything that we can do. Our platform is very extensive. There's a lot of moving parts to it. So just making sure that you know what all of those parts are, and in turn, educating your teachers. So I won't jump ahead. Our next guest is going to talk about that a little bit, but just making sure that when you share the link for your trip registration, that there is some sort of understanding as to what exactly the system is going to do and how it's going to help everyone.
Mm. When you say guest, are you talking about Mr. Frank Stroup that we talked to from Travel with Barb?
Yes.
Absolutely. Yes, he is an educator extraordinaire himself, and that is a best practice that you'll hear more about in our interview with him later on in this episode. But of course, maybe the best for last here, Mr. Ryan Kramer. What do you think is the most valuable group collect register best practice that you love to share?
So my most valuable practice here comes from, so before I did this for a living, I was a travel coordinator, and
Hmm.
I unfortunately did not get to use GroupCollect during my time as a travel coordinator. It was a sad
Mm.
time. But something I'm very envious of those who do get to use the system is the extensive modalities we give for communication, being able to use email or text for our communications. And not only that, different ways, like using the trip landing page as an opportunity to promote information. I would say my best practice is think about the audience that you have, think about all the options that are available to you, and don't be afraid to use what works, because that's a tool I would have loved to have been able to utilize back in my day. And I'm happy that those who use the tool now can.
Right, right. The struggle was real trying to communicate with a large group, right?
Yes, yes, it was.
So having the ability to, hit people right where they're looking because they're scrolling on those phones, send them a
Yep.
text, let them know what needs to be said about the trip. It's a beautiful thing. I'm going to keep mine brief. I say that the Group Collect Register best practice that I love to share is a custom video on your trip registration page. Just do it. Just make it. If you don't know how to make custom videos for your tour operator company, then email me, eric@groupcollect.com. I will help you.
I'm gonna use this as my opportunity to make Eric gush a little bit, and you dare not
You
edit
better
this
not.
part out, Eric.
Okay, no, go
But
on.
no, you better not. I want to just give Eric a shout out. We get so many compliments on the video content that we post to our socials, and anytime you see something that you love there, that is all Eric right there. So make sure to give him some love. Eric@groupcollect.com if you like our video content.
Well, all right, fine. I'll take the love. But I'm here for the consultation too. I'm serious. I think that putting so we have the ability to or you have the ability as a user of Group Collect Register to embed a link to a video on that registration page. I would love to see the data on what it how exactly how much it increases trip registrations, which is just a direct injection into your bottom line. Like it just is going to get you more travelers, more money, in my opinion. Again, I don't have data to back that up. I probably should. I should accumulate that. But I do think that that's a very valuable thing. So, before we get back to you, Bryce, with the next question, I just realized that we never established where you are in the country. Why don't you tell us where you are coming to us from today?
Absolutely. I am in southern Louisiana, Lafayette, Louisiana to be specific. I am not a native, but I have adopted the culture and I absolutely love it here. Kentucky born and raised, so I got to give a shout out to my hometown, but I'm also enjoying being down here in Acadiana. It's a beautiful place to be.
Which place has the better food?
Oh, Louisiana, without a doubt.
Yeah,
Lafayette
it's not even close.
specifically. Oh yeah, it's not even close. As much
Okay.
as I love back home, it's a whole different experience here. So, you could stop at a gas station and get a fantastic meal, and I actually mean that, no exaggeration. So,
That has
it's
always been the thing that has characterized each of my trips to Louisiana is I'm just like insanely full at the end of it
yeah,
because I have just been so gluttonous of all the delicious food.
absolutely. I get it. It's hard not to eat here.
So now that we've established that Louisiana has incredible food, this other question was, what's the most interesting group travel industry trend that you've spotted that you think is not being discussed enough?
Sure. So I will say this cautiously because discussed enough is a subjective term there
That's right.
because I think, but with that being said, I think that, the implementation of using AI for certain pieces of business in
Mm.
certain areas is not necessarily discussed enough among certain groups. There are some people who are fully embracing it, and those people I feel like are having proper discussions. And there are some who, maybe are a little apprehensive to certain pieces of new tech, AI being included in that. specifically, in the realm of new ideas and creation of new pieces of an itinerary. Sometimes, people have done the same trip 100 times before and don't really know how to switch it up, don't really know, what else to do. And I think that in terms of idea generation, AI is really something that can impact a lot of people's businesses. And I've seen it utilized, but I do think that as we progress with technology in the industry, it's going to be more pertinent that people are using it to, give themselves ideas for itineraries, like I said, give themselves ideas for how to make trip experiences better, and overall just use it as a as a fill in the blank spot when people are trying to figure out exactly how to enhance their trips. So that would be my nugget of information there.
Mm. The Gather and Go podcast, which I will gladly plug right here, of the group travel leader. They had a really interesting guest on a couple weeks back that talked about AI, and on the tour manager side, because this individual who is an AI specialist as their guest, unfortunately his name escapes me right now, but go check out their podcast and scroll through the last couple of months and you'll find him. But he came from the tour manager side, and I thought that he had really, really awesome ideas as far as the implementation of AI on that side of things. And even so much down to like, you may have a destination really well researched with your commentary, but AI can even help you in like, take all of the research or the three things that I normally talk about this one place and customize it for an audience of blank, depending on who your group is. So there really is, there's an infinite number of use cases. And so I guess by not discussed enough, you're speaking directly to the people that may be a bit hesitant about AI.
Sure.
Yeah,
Absolutely, absolutely. And I think the thing is when you don't talk about it, that's when it seems scary. That's when it seems hard to use, that sort of thing. But throwing it around and having that conversation, if it's something that you're not using, I think is absolutely worth the discussion to figure out how you can best use it for your business.
I hear you. All right. So let's switch it up here. We're going to go to Ryan next instead, switching up the rotation. What do you think is the most interesting group travel industry trend that is not being discussed enough?
Absolutely. So I have no data to back this. This is all anecdotal, but travel's something that I really enjoy, and I consume a lot of travel content in the form of podcasts and YouTube videos and, kind of created content. And again, no data to back it, but I've been noticing this trend, not just in group travel, but just in travel writ large, that there's a real respect for professional travel planners that's starting to really emerge there. And a lot of travel influencers and content creators encouraging people actively to utilize whether it be tour operators for pre-formed group tours or assembling their own group or using a independent travel consultant for just free independent travel. I've been noticing that a lot more and a lot of people seeing the value because we went through that phase right in the early 2000s where orbits and kayak and all of this was the rage and this whole idea I can do it myself. And I think people are starting to see the downsides of that, and I'm just hearing a lot
Pendulum
more.
has swung a bit. Yeah.
And yeah, as someone who's been in the group tourism space for a while and the professional travel planning space makes me delighted to see that because people forget that, yes, being on vacation is fun, but, planning, whether it is a vacation or a tour or any type of travel is work. And why not have someone who is good at it and has studied it professionally help you with that? So I'm
Right.
delighted to see
Just delegate that to travel pros. Well, you know
that.
that trend definitely is scratching the listeners right where they itch.
Hmm.
Presumably everyone listening here, a professional travel planner themselves. But on to you, Kathleen. Same question. What's the trend you think is not being discussed enough?
Well, I definitely think it's being discussed, but I think it's sort of changing how the discussion needs to go. And mine is as a mom of a 3-year-old, I definitely think safety is going to be a big one here. And with the how things are and just things that are occurring, making sure you have backup plans, not only in case of emergency. Yeah, okay, we've got this backup plan, but you need to have additional. You need to have, okay, here's plan A. If that doesn't work, here's plan B, here's plan C, here's plan D. Like just in case, you always want to make sure you're prepared in any and every situation that you could possibly encounter.
I mean, again, another reason why it's nice to have a pro travel planner in your corner on that trip, right? Because
Absolutely.
preparation and safety, it is definitely something I think that is at the forefront of many people's minds. Kathleen says it can still be even further. I hear you. I would say group travel industry trend that's not being talked about enough. Online payment and registration. Have you guys ever heard of this?
Great idea. Someone should do something about that.
Yeah, absolutely.
I really, really think we should all be doing group travel registration and payment online. That's just me. We could make a whole company out of it. No, actually, let me tell you something. I am going to borrow something from one of our respondents. I'm going to say that this is not discussed enough because I personally have never thought about it. But I would like to research this further, and that is the difference in cost of busing versus flying, getting closer and closer together. So I really feel like there is, some industry analysis that I would, because I would not have thought this. I would have always thought that busing was the less expensive alternative. And I guess if I'm reading between the lines here properly, it still is, but it used to be substantially less expensive, and now it's getting closer in cost. And so I wonder what is causing that. And I wonder how that is impacting the way that a lot of our, users and listeners are planning their trips. Definitely some things to think about, and we want to say thank you very, very much to everybody that did take the time to take this summer survey. We are going to be using this feedback for some of our Zoom events that we conduct in the future, and other fun little segments like this that you're listening to right here on GroupCollect the podcast. With that, ladies and gents, let's take a quick break. We are going to be back with more of our business development specialist, Bryce Wilson, learning a little bit more about him, his background, and how he got here to GroupCollect. So stick around for that. All right, everybody, we are back here with Mr. Bryce Wilson, Sales and Business Development Specialist here with GroupCollect. Bryce, we wanted to ask you a couple of questions about you as a person. So for anybody listening, they can get to know a little bit more about you and your background. So why don't we start with that? Tell us about your background. Where are you from originally? And how did you get into the group travel industry?
Absolutely. They're all great questions, Eric. So I'm trying to figure out what place to start really here. So as I alluded to earlier, I'm from Kentucky. So I'm born and raised in Lexington, Kentucky. I went to Eastern Kentucky University, which is just about 30 minutes away from there. Played football there, and I majored in business with a specialty in international business. From there, I found myself in a couple of different sales roles. I knew I kind of wanted to be in some form of sales. I enjoy people. I enjoy advocating for products that I truly do believe in. And, with that being said, I was still searching. And, like I said, I had a couple of roles that just didn't seem to fit me. I happened to be on LinkedIn and scrolling and found my first job in the group travel industry, which was with the Group Travel Leader. Shout out to those guys there in Lexington, Kentucky. Great group of people there. But to be quite candid with you, I didn't have a clue what it was exactly. No one had ever described the group travel industry to me as an entity in and of itself. Despite having gone on, senior trips and things like that, I never really thought of it as a business. So it just seemed like something that seemed like a lot of fun. It seemed like I was going to be able to work with people and travel. At that time I was selling different forms of media and working with a lot of CVBs and DMOs and state tourism boards across the country. So that was really my intro into group travel, is just kind of stumbling upon it on LinkedIn. And, I fell in love with it pretty quickly. It was an immediate hit for me. so many wonderful people, so many wonderful stories, different walks of life, the ability to travel. All of those things are reasons why I really enjoy this space. On top of the actual work itself is the byproduct of all the people. I really enjoy that quite a bit. So, with that being said, I had met our chief and our president, Bud Geisler, on the road a couple of times throughout my early career there. Hit it off with Bud, and we just stayed in contact. And I made a move from Lexington down here to Louisiana with my now fiance, with her job. And knowing that I was moving with her, I wanted to stay in the industry. I just didn't know what exactly. And of course, relationship with Bud is what got me here. Just reaching out to him and knowing that I could definitely be of service to the group, and he felt the same way. So I was able to talk to him, and I'm so blessed and so thankful to be a part of this team now and just contribute in whatever way that I can, really. And I see that same mentality from the entire group, which is awesome. Everybody is all hands on deck all the time. And I'm just thankful to be a part of something like that. I'm glad that Bud saw the vision, and that we were able to make something work out that was advantageous for myself and for the company. So hopefully that was a good, quick run through of how I got to where I'm at. But that's a little bit of it.
You plowed through question number 2 as well, which was how you got here to GroupCollect. So thank you for that. Now, I want to dig into one specific element of your answer there, and this is going to be a serious question for the whole group. But do you all have the same experience as Bryce and I of not knowing that the group travel industry existed before working in it? And if so, do you find that troubling? Or what was your experience, Kathleen and Ryan, before your
Well,
first job in this space? Did you know that this was such a big industry?
no, I'm 100% with Bryce there. I had no clue. It's a wonderful like secret society, I feel
Right?
like, it's like the group of amazing, wonderful people out there in the world that like no one knows about, no one talks about, that do the fun stuff. That's
It's
the
a secret
travel, right?
society. It
It
is.
is. It
But a
really
cool
is.
one. It's like a
So
cool
now
secret society. It's not one of those.
glad to be part of it. So
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Ryan, what about you, man?
I was aware of it.
Ah,
And I
smart
chalk that
guy.
to I'm a huge dork, in case you can't tell by all of my Disney and theme park memorabilia back here. Huge dork.
So how is the question?
So yes, so how I became aware of it, it was in high school, and when I started having the opportunity to travel, where most kids are just kind of like, oh, cool, trip. I was so concerned with the mechanics of how this all worked. So I went down a rabbit hole and researched the tour operator we were going with, and then had some fantastic experiences, working with tour operators throughout my time in college as well, and then having my first job out of college be working for one of those tour operators. So I was fortunate to have been aware of it.
Mm. Um, well, I mean that is cool. And I mean, yeah, it probably says more about me specifically and just being oblivious to major sectors of the American economy that I didn't know about it. But I don't know. There also might be something to it with Kaplan and Bryce that it is a really cool industry. It is obviously a booming and successful one. It's fun to be in. And yet somehow it's just not something that you see as like career options when you're perusing like, at your the job placement office at like a higher education institution. And maybe there is something to that. I don't know. Maybe we should think about that a little more. But back to you, Bryce. We've talked about your title a few times throughout this interview. I have butchered it several times. So instead of talking about the title, I do want to know how would you describe like your day to day here at Group Collect? I feel a little office space-ish saying this, but like What is it that you do here?
Sure. No, absolutely. That's a good question. One thing that I really enjoy about my role is that it does change from day to day. There are certain things that, can happen consistently over and over again. A lot of that being like demos for new potential tenants. I'm really always happy and excited to reach out to new people and prospect new tour operators and show them our system. So that's something that I do frequently. But I do things like jumping on the podcast, helping forge new partnerships between GroupCollect and other entities. I'm very fortunate enough to be able to travel to some travel shows and take those meetings as well too. So a little bit of everything in terms of sales processes as well too. With our CRM, I've kind of delve deep into that to replicate, or excuse me, create a replicating process of reaching out to new people and following up with new people with the tech that we have internally. So anything related to sales, anything related to the growth of the unit itself, I am happy to assist in. And that's typically kind of my path is just figuring out what can I do that day that is best for the group, is best for sales, and best for the growth of GroupCollect.
Love it. And we are grateful for it.
Well, thank you, sir.
One of the engines that is driving the operation in that regard. So I know in marketing, we think a lot about the concept of like the ideal customer. And obviously with marketing and sales working hand in hand, I know that's something that I'm sure that you all have profiled as well. So what would you say is that ideal individual or company that you are looking to have a conversation with and assist right now? What kind of a position would they be in right now?
That's a great question. I look for more mentality than demographic in that aspect. And the reason I say that is because our product has such a wide range of features and capabilities that I really genuinely feel like we can serve a plethora of individuals. So the mentality that I search for is someone who is open to working with us, someone that is open to maybe doing a couple of things a little bit different than they've traditionally done them, but who also know that we're going to be able to be a complement to their business, not just take it over. We're not here to revamp everything, but we want to streamline and help people do business and do group travel better. So I'll look for people who are excited about learning new things, who are looking forward to improving what they've already created. So those are the type of people that I really enjoy working with, that I enjoy showing demos to. And then, I also enjoy continuing to serve those people after they create their profiles with us and they're doing trips. I want them to know that, we're going to continuously be there for them. And it doesn't have to be a scary tech journey, that we're going to hold their hand, and it's quite user friendly. So people of that mindset are the ones that I typically look for.
I love it because it makes me feel like adopting GroupCollect platform, specifically GroupCollect Register, is like a state of
Mhm.
mind, right?
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. You don't have to be a tech genius to get started. You just have to be open to learning a couple of new things, just
Yeah,
a
you,
few.
you gotta have just that frame of mind. I love it.
That's right.
Any other questions for Bryce? But we're about to wrap up this interview here and move on to our next segment.
What has been your favorite experience with GroupCollect so far?
Oh gosh, that's a good question. I would say my first CIDA, which was August in New York last year. I had never been to CIDA before. I'd been in the industry a couple of years and I had not been there. So it was really cool. One, New York is a wonderful and fun city to be in. And then two, it was such a new experience for me. It felt like starting over in the industry again, in a different capacity. And I really enjoy new things and new experiences. So I think that was pretty awesome. And I was so new to this company, I didn't know a lot yet, but it was just a really awesome experience and by far one of my favorites since I've been here with GroupCollect.
With that, I want to give another very special thanks. Bryce, we greatly appreciate you being here today and co-hosting GroupCollect the podcast. Where can people find you or get in touch with you?
Absolutely. So email is a great way to get in touch with me. I respond typically 7 days a week. It's Bryce at groupcollect.com, BRYCE. If you have any questions, regarding the system, if you have any questions regarding what we do here at GroupCollect, I'm happy to assist. So please feel free to reach out to me at any time.
That rocks, man. Thank you so much. And if you would please stick around, we've got our interview with Frank Stroup of Travel with Barb. He is the portal master. You'll learn more exactly about what that means in our forthcoming interview with him. So stick around. All right, everybody, welcome. We are here with our main man, Mr. Frank Stroup of Travel with Barb. How are you doing today, Frank?
Doing great. Happy to be here.
Awesome. Why don't you tell everybody a little bit about yourself, your background, how you got into the group travel game, and what you do now with Travel with Barb?
Sure thing. So I came from a mostly music background in terms of where I had my travel experiences. I was always in band in high school, and I remember taking a big group trip to Chicago, but we always traveled locally to compete, and those are their own experiences in and of themselves. And then I went to the University of Nebraska for college. And I was in the marching band back when Nebraska football was good and went to bowl games. So we got to we went to the Holiday Bowl in San Diego. We went to what was the Gator Bowl in Orlando, places like that, which was really, really fun. And I mean, I didn't see it from a backside perspective, but looking back, it definitely influenced what I valued and the things that were really, really fun in the moment. As I kind of went through school, I got the opportunity to travel with a choir group to Europe every year. And so in the summer, we would take a group of high schoolers that we called the All-Star Chorus from around the Midwest. And we would take four brass playing chaperones. Being a trumpet player, I was a good person for this group, and we would accompany the choir all across this tour of Europe for about 2 weeks. And for me, it was a really good opportunity to play at all these cool cathedrals and go see all these great venues. But there's also the responsibility of kind of guiding the kids around, making sure that they traveled in a safe way, checking on them at night, things like that, that I kind of came into more of a teacher role there, which served my degree, which was music education. So after school, I taught band for 7 years and ended up taking my kids places. And after I decided to start a new chapter into the student tour operating life, I think that really served me well. And I think that one of the things that I do really well at Travel with Barb now is I see things through the teacher's eyes, what they value, what they want from a tour operator to make easier for them so that they can deal with what they need to in the classroom with the students, with the parents directly, when I can have that kind of degree of separation and give them the comfort of handling the money, handling some of those policies. So they're not always kind of on that, in that position of being a bad guy or a good guy, whatever happens.
So what is your title with Travel with Barb, and what would you say is like your day-to-day mostly?
My title is account manager. So I'm looking at all of the trips that we have on the books. I'm communicating with the people who are registered, and then also the people who are leading the trip. In our case, it's mostly teachers who are in those pilot seats for all of our trips in the GroupCollect Register system. We call it informally the portal at Travel with Barb. So my informal name is Portal Master, and I have a lot of great AI generated images of me being a shadowy hooded figure behind this computer.
It really does sound quite mystical, and I would like to formally lobby for that to become your official title, if if we have any influence in the matter whatsoever. Portal Master, Frank Stroup.
I would love a shadowy business card. That'd be pretty cool.
Yes, it can make you like Bruno, right?
Yeah, exactly. I like to think that that's how most of the people think of me when they kick off their trips. They always say, "This is Frank, and he's going to be behind the back scenes of the portal, helping you out, fixing any problems that are going to happen. I like to think that they imagine me as this shadowy figure that just has all the answers to their problems.
Yes, and given
I
that
will.
introduction, it does seem like you're lurking somewhere. It's like don't mind Frank. He's just out in, the enchanted woods. But he'll be there if you need any assistance with the portal.
Yes, exactly. A mythical digital creature.
Yeah, I love it. Well, so then just taking a few steps back, you were a high school teacher, correct? High school band?
Yeah, I started as a high school band teacher, and I was full-time high school, and then I moved to a different position where I was part-time high school and then part-time elementary school. So I would be the assistant for marching band and do a lot of the heavy lifting when it comes to those really big ensemble type things, and then teach beginning band as well. And I really liked beginners because they just had this spark that you could see ignite when they made their first sound on the instrument. I thought it was super super cool, and that's kind of why I like the student travel too. With all these, there's a lot of small schools in Nebraska that just they've never been outside of 1,000-person town, and then when they like see the skyline of Chicago or something, they're just like, I can go in that. Like, is this going to be okay? But then they end up loving it, and I think that that's part of the reason that I think I really value student travel, and I want to keep doing what I'm currently doing and facilitating that for these students and educators.
Yeah, 100%. And your background, I think, is awesome because not only do you play an instrument, but having the teaching experience and all of that, like it really, I feel like helps. You can see it as a whole picture even more than any of us can, and that is awesome.
You really
I feel
have
like
you kind of like have hit for the cycle here in terms of like you have been the performing arts student that has traveled on these trips. You have led the trips, and now you are coordinating the administration of these trips at scale.
Yeah, I think that that's absolutely true. And I think it gives me a helpful perspective because I know how difficult it is to be a teacher and how um I guess nervous and anxious you can get as a student when you're going into something that you don't know, like you can't really control and you don't really know exactly what's going to happen. There's so many things in travel that make it fun, but also can make it anxious for kids. And I think that it's really nice to have all those perspectives as you described, Eric.
Yeah, absolutely. And the intricacies of traveling with instruments as well, too.
It's an art form in and of itself.
Yes, yes. Instruments and uniforms. Sometimes it's like with band instruments, like brass instruments, you can bang them around a little bit and they'll be okay. But like, oh, if you have like white shoes on your marching band uniform, oh my gosh. You really got to treat those delicately.
I've had a couple of experiences like that with groups. It's the also the decorative feathers sometimes. Those are a
Oh,
big deal.
yeah, the shakos, or some people call them plumes.
There you go. And then in the instrument world, it's always the wooden orchestral instruments where it's like, humidity and weather patterns
Oh,
need to be taken into consideration. They're like, well, we could leave it under the bus, but it just rained 30 minutes ago. So, the the humidity is going to impact the nature of the wood so as to affect our performance tomorrow. And those things
it's
do
so
need to be,
true.
yeah, they need to be taken into consideration.
Yeah, and I think one of the most important things is that we tell them before we kind of be proactive about it, like, hey, we're thinking about this because teachers, and especially music teachers, I think, are really intelligent and they plan ahead. Like that's a lot of the game of being a music teacher is you're juggling a lot of things. You're always planning ahead. You're always predicting, like when you have a new piece of music in front of you, okay, what is the most common mistake that's going to happen? and how can I prepare for that mistake before it even occurs? So
Right.
they're thinking ahead. So I think as tour operators, one of the really nice things we can do is tell them that, hey, we're looking into this. We're concerned about this too. And that just, I mean, that makes us worth our weight in gold when we can take another thing off their mind.
Agreed. Because also then if it's a director that might be leading a group trip for one of their first times, then they might not know what they don't know, right? And so you get to fill them in so that they can resume their normal behavior of planning ahead. So
Certainly. It's a delicate balance of educating them on kind of best practices for travel, but also keeping in mind that this is their trip and they're in charge. We want to do what they want to do ultimately, but we do need to be able to tell them, hey, this is probably the best way to handle that.
absolutely. And you've got a lot of experience in that from all sides. So that's what really makes you the perfect storm here, Frank. Um, Now, I know that we want you had mentioned that your day to day with travel with Barb is associated with a GroupCollect Register on a somewhat regular basis or on a very regular basis. But we wanted to dig into that a little bit, right, Kaplan?
Yes, absolutely. So shifting gears, we just wanted to know what has your experience with Group Collect Register, both as a software that you use on a daily basis, and then also as a company, just Group Collect as a company.
I would certainly say that you could qualify it as an hourly basis that I use it, maybe even a half hourly basis, because it seems like it's always prominent in my tabs, and maybe I'll even have multiple groups in there. But my experience in relationship with Group Collect Register has kind of changed because initially it was this is what we use to register people, this is how they pay, and that was kind of my basic interaction with the platform. And then as I really got into using it and learned more about it, I started learning the benefits of asking questions, requiring documents, and exporting things so you can get a full picture of all the passengers who are on your trip. And then thinking about how a lot of trip leaders they kind of interacted with it the same way that I did initially, and they don't live in it like I do. So how can I bring a comprehensive experience to them and show them all of the benefits that I've found, then all the conveniences that are there that maybe they're just not accessing. So that's when I started thinking about these orientations that I do with all of our clients, especially new clients, uh, running them through all of the convenience. How do you oversee your trip? What insight can you get into your trip just by looking at all of the metrics that are there, seeing all the maybe people behind on payments, what information is there, what kind of documents do you put in there that people can always access so you don't have as many questions going into your trip. So I think that it's really evolved into part of the trip planning process, not just a way of making registration and payment easier. It's a really big tool that I think a lot of people use, a lot of people like, and going forward from that, we've actually started using it in our marketing for planning trips with us. Like this is a major benefit
Mm.
of planning trips with us is you get access to GroupCollect Register just as a feature of doing a travel with Barb trip. And you get access to the portal master on the other side who will help you in case you get stuck.
About how long does your orientations last with each trip leader?
It depends. Usually usually I like to aim for 20 to 30 minutes where I show them all of the tools that are, um, well, let me start from the beginning. First, I'll start with how their registration page looks. Now that we're inviting people, they don't really see the registration page right away. So this is what your families are seeing. This is what your travelers interact with from the beginning. And then I will show them what the trip leader dashboard means a little bit to give them the kind of whole picture. And then I take them to what does the traveler see using the demo account so that they know what their families are seeing, what their families are experiencing as they register, what they have access to, and then I'll bring it back to the trip leader tools. And here's how you interact with that as a trip leader. Here's how you help manage that. And I think it's really, really helpful for them to know what it looks like from their traveler side,
For
and then
sure.
also know how they can provide any benefits to their travelers on their side, and then what they need to reach out to me for.
How do you think that that impacts the way that support goes through the duration of the trip? Like at that point, now that you have trained the trip leader, so to speak, are they in a position where they feel empowered to kind of handle the majority of the support from the passengers? Or are the passengers still coming to travel with Barb with any support questions, but you have found that the support might be lower or easier to give? How does that all shake out, you think?
I would say that by and large, it reduces the number of people that come to travel with Barb with questions because they are interacting with, like during the school year, I'd say they're interacting with that teacher every single day, and students will come to them with questions. And I think that as a teacher myself, I don't like to not have the answers to
Of
questions
course, yeah.
or give the answer like, oh, I'll check on that for you because I mean, it's my trip. Why don't I know about this? So I think it empowers them to be able to give correct answers. It makes them look better and look more knowledgeable about their own trip in the classroom because we just don't interact with them every day. But it also kind of depends on the trip leader. Some trip leaders, yeah, they get it and they just go. And I don't provide much support at all. Some trip leaders, especially, I think earlier in this conversation, you referred to people who just don't know what they don't know. Some of those people do come back for help quite often, and that's okay. That's why I'm here. But I think doing the orientation dramatically reduced the number of people who had to reach out to me directly.
So last summer we shared, this process with people, and I think the other interesting thing that I thought was for these repeat customers, you still do the orientation, but more so of to show them just like, okay, here's what's new, here's what's been updated.
I guess it's almost like the GroupCollect Register, not like 101, but this is like the 200 level course, right? That you give for your repeats. Um,
Sure.
do you still feel like they are getting a huge amount of information that's helping them use the system out of that?
So I'll say a couple things here. First of all, it goes back to your original question of interacting with GroupCollect Register as a software. I love the fact that I have enough new content to have a repeat orientation or the 201 class. I think that's fantastic. And ever since Kathleen and I started talking monthly, I think getting those updates is awesome. Just telling her what's working for me, what I observe is uh, not quite showing the right way or is confusing people. I think that is super, super valuable. And I think that GroupCollect Register is very dynamic in its approach of updating its features and providing new things so that I have something to talk about. And I think that the 201 class is awesome from a few different perspectives. Number one, it gives me a chance to just say hi again because I like all these people. I mean, teachers are my people, and I like to interact with them, and it feels like you're talking to a friend again, not just a client. So that's really nice. It gives me an opportunity to ask them about their experience from last time, if there was anything that stood out as something that maybe they were missing or they'd like to see. It gives me a direct line to them instead of like a Google survey and just getting feedback that way.
True.
Usually those are sent like after the trip happens, and you don't remember much about the registration process when you're right after the trip because you just went to see a fantastic musical or this, that, or the other. That's what's buzzing in your head, not, oh, well, how is payment and registration working
Right.
for me in that instance? So it gives me that opportunity. And then, yes, I like to go over the new features and show them those opportunities that are now available for the travelers, especially trip donations. We've had so much success with that. And just coming from a teacher mind, fundraising was just something I never wanted to do. I wanted to teach music, and that's was my focus, to make awesome musical experiences for my kids and teach values, life lessons, and musical pedagogy just through band. And I did not want to do fundraising, so I've come up with a few ways for people to use those fundraising links, those individual donation links, to kind of enhance their current fundraisers or to make them just a fundraising vehicle on their own. And talking about that, I think, has made a real difference for some of the teachers who also share my aversion to planning other fundraisers and not having a gallon of cookie dough in your fridge for the next year.
I feel you on that. I also like that, if you're having an orientation with a repeat trip leader, that when you are probing for those things that they thought might have been shortcomings in their last experience, it might not even be the new features that you touch upon, but perhaps even features that were there for both trips that they might not have known about. And that's an opportunity for you to say, like, hey, well, if you use the system in this way, that's a way that you can make this element that you might have struggled with the first time a lot easier. So it's an opportunity to uncover all sorts of things about the system, which obviously just tickles Kathleen and I pink over here.
That's a way to say that.
Yes. So we talked about these orientations. So that might be the answer. We've got another question. But if there's anything else, what's a super tangible GroupCollect Register best practice that you have that someone listening could walk away with
As Portal Master,
as Portal Master?
there is only one out there. What do you think is the one of the best practices that you've developed with GroupCollect Register over the years that you think others might benefit from?
I think probably the biggest thing that we've seen at Travel with Barb that just makes a difference in terms of how they use GroupCollect Register is those portal orientations. And then also just being very proactive and front heavy with your communication so that all of the travelers know what's going on and what's expected. So there are the automatic reminders that go out, but we encourage all of our trip leaders to check the GroupCollect Register system once or twice a week to look at their numbers. And I give them little progress reports along with our sales team to say, hey, you're doing great on numbers. Look, you had 2 people register last week. Now you're up to 50. This is awesome. Whatever you're doing is working really well. Because the way that the trip leaders and the travelers first interact with the system is going to define how they feel about it for the rest of the trip process. And if you have a longer trip with a longer payment timeline that they're paying for 9 months, they're not gonna be averse to logging in, making those payments, clicking auto pay, this, that, or the other. If you are very front heavy with how you communicate to your travelers and to your trip leaders, if it starts as a really positive experience, then it just makes the rest of the time so much easier. It's so much easier to get them to log in to answer a question for a meal choice if they have a good experience with the platform at first.
And so
Absolutely.
what are some of the ways that you all communicate as travel with Barb? Like when you're saying that front heavy initial communication, what are you guys reaching out to passengers directly via email? Is that through the system? Are you texting? Like what are your primary communication channels for that?
We'll use the GroupCollect Register, email, and SMS. We'll use that most of the time, and we encourage that because you can see it's documented. You can see like that log of everything that's happening. You can see teachers absolutely love that you can see if your message was delivered.
Yeah.
And I love it too, because then you know if somebody's not getting it. And somebody even asked about, can we make this red receipts? And I'm like, slow down. I don't know if we're to red receipts yet. That sounds a little more complicated, but we use that, and I think that it's the best way to make those interactions happen, because then it establishes GroupCollect Register as this is what we're using for the trip. It's not the school email. It's not a remind group or the band app, which are two of these apps that people commonly use to text out reminders and things about competitions. This is what we are using for the trip. It establishes that as the means of communication.
Right. And then it just makes it that much easier because all in one platform, this is also where you'll be registering and paying. Yeah.
Yeah. And for our trips, we have all of the documents or things that they can always have access to. Those are important things for them, like the school's trip expectations or the price package. So what they can expect to get with the trip. What are they paying for? Like these are all your inclusions listed out so that they know they can always see that kind of stuff. I think that's really valuable for them, not just as travelers, but as customers.
You like to list those elements as documents that are included in the trip, or do you include that on the registration page, or both?
Both.
There you go.
Some of the documents, like the travel expectations, I don't put those on the registration page, but the price package we do put on the registration page so that when people are signing up, they can see like, oh, wow, like look at this long list of awesome things that we can expect to do. I want to register now.
Exactly. While we're on the topic of best practices, do you have any like hot tips for registration pages? Let's say that there's somebody in the group travel industry that is a counterpart and equivalent in a position like yours. Do you have like what's your best practice or hot tip for making a great and effective registration page in GroupCollect Register?
I think my hottest tip is the fact that everything in that, I don't remember what it's labeled, but everything in the main block, not
Yeah,
the itinerary block on the side, but everything on the main block, that's the first thing that people are going to see when they access it on mobile. So anything really important that you want right at the first point of attention, put it there.
that is a great tip.
So are you still displaying the statement descriptor? Do you still put that on the registration page?
Yes, we put the statement descriptor, the trip code. We fortunately have a lot of families that come back because the schools plan trips with us frequently, or it's the band teacher, then the choir teacher, then the forensics teacher, this, that, and the other. So they have accounts and they just need that trip code to get in there. So we do the statement descriptor, we do the trip code. Those are two of the more prominent things right up at the top. And then we get into that price package and everything. Our marketing person put together some cool hype videos for all of our cities. So they have a hype video there if they want to experience what it's been like to travel with Barb at these different cities around America. They're all pictures from our trips. So they're not just stock photos you find when you Google New York City or whatever. They're our groups and they're our photos of people doing things that we have them go do.
Cannot advocate enough for the custom hype video. That is I have a video production background myself, as some may know. So I'm a rather big advocate of video for promotional purposes, and they really do help, I think, a great deal in promoting that trip on the registration page. That's why we've got the feature to be able to do that. Now, Frank, you've been really gracious and insightful in sharing your story and your background in this industry as a student and a teacher, and now you find yourself as this group travel professional. So I want to kind of zoom out and leverage your position and your experience that you've gained now over the last couple years in this industry and with Travel with Barb, and ask you, what do you see or have you observed any trends in the group travel industry recently that you think are not being talked about enough?
Sure. And I think that I will just start by saying that August is going to start my second year in the travel industry. So these trends are not going to be from somebody like Barb, who has 25 years of experience doing things like this. But from my vantage point, questions that I've received more frequently from parents and also from representatives in school districts are they want to know that we are working on safety and not really just from a perspective of, do you do bus checks? Do you ask your vendors if they have the right kind of food for allergies? But a lot of people have been getting worried about legislation as it relates to, if we have a lot of LGBTQ kids in our theater program, are they going to be okay going to Orlando? Are they going to face any discrimination when they go there? With protests happening, like, are we going to encounter any of this stuff if we go to LA, or if we go to Washington, D.C.? Is that going to happen? And I think I said earlier, being proactive and saying that you're working on it and you realize that this is something that might happen is really important to them. But I don't think that the safety talks that I've seen are thinking about that. I hear some things, some webinars that go over different laws and how they affect these communities, but not really how tour operators are communicating to travelers that we're working on it, how we are actually working on it to provide just that extra security and extra peace of mind that where they're going to travel, they're going to be treated well, and they're not going to have to compromise those certain values just because they're going to a different state that might not have the same values expressed.
And do you have any examples of tangible steps that you as the tour operator can take for groups in that situation? Like what can be done and what do you all do?
It's it's really difficult, I'll be honest. Like, I'm not really sure how to guarantee what's going on with any sort of protests or any sort of like what's going on here or there with bathroom laws. I think that's one of the things that came up at in Florida when they started talking about different bathroom laws. It's like, okay, so taking them to a beach, is that going to be a problem? Because those are technically state-owned, like bathroom facilities. If
Ah,
they're private, then it's a little different
yeah.
because private businesses can do what they want. But thinking about if you're taking them into a state-owned building or a state-owned area, is that going to affect your group? So it's kind of, I mean, for me, everything feels like new water, but I feel like that's even newer water for
Yeah, and I think
everybody.
what I'm taking from that is it comes down to an awareness and the proactive self-education, right? So it's like you as the representative of the tour operator, just being aware and sensitive to the idea that these sort of issues might impact a group is probably the most that can be done. And because the more that you know about it, that might be able to dispel some of the concerns that some people may have that might be unfounded. Like you said, in that specific situation, it's like, okay, well, most privately owned bathrooms are going to have their own set of rules and they can operate the way that they want to as a business. And so that's going to be the majority of the places that we're going to go. And that can be something that kind of takes an edge off of a traveler for the most part, right? And that was just because you had done your due diligence, researched what the situation was, provided the information, in terms of cold hard facts, and that's about all you can do, right?
And I think the conversation that operators need to have is that about how we craft this experience, because we're crafting that kind of travel experience for kids. So in planning that, we want to make sure that we have the right roadmap, but sometimes stuff happens and you're going to have to steer. So if you were to encounter a protest, what are we going to do about that? And then how are we going to address that with the students afterwards? How do we make it into an experience for them that's not frightening but valuable? I know as a member of the Army National Guard, I've gone to our state capitol in uniform for different ceremonies that I play trumpet at, and there have been protesters and I've been yelled at and this, that, and the other. I can take it because I'm an adult and I have, my certain kind of training that lets me just kind of sully forward and be polite, this, that, and the other. But, kids, they don't have that kind of discipline. Maybe some, but you can't assume that they have that kind of discipline.
Right.
Yeah. So I guess I know what it's like to be on the other side of it. And it wouldn't be fun. As a teacher, I wouldn't love it if we knew we were going to encounter that. But if I had a little more trust in the tour operator to make it a valuable experience, or to just know that they're doing what they can to craft a safe experience for the students, I think that that's the conversation that we need to have as tour operators, is how do we ensure, give that kind of peace of mind to our clients that we are looking at that we are paying attention to that.
Absolutely. And thank you for your service, sir, by the way, in the National Guard.
Thank you for your support.
So yeah, Kaplan, any other questions?
No, this was great. Thank you so much for joining us, Frank.
Absolutely. Yeah, happy to be here. Thanks for having me.
All right, everybody. Once again, that was Frank Stroup with Travel with Barb. He is just an awesome dude, and someone that we were really grateful to be able to sit down and chat with. Before we wrap things up for this episode, though, Kathleen, you wanted to talk to people a little bit more about the GroupCollect Register Rewards program. Some folks have been informed this month in June that they have the privilege of having their company names etched on the side of the collector's cup. Can you tell us more about that?
Yes, so the rewards program is something we launched this year. It's something fun, just a little incentive, to work with us. And thank you for your partnership with us. So if you would love to participate, again, it is completely optional. But if you wanted to meet with me and go through, just do a little account review and we can cover, what rewards you qualify for, just let me know. Reach out.
That's awesome. So that's going to wrap it up for this month's episode, everybody. We greatly appreciate all of our guests. We appreciate everybody listening. If you have any questions or feedback about anything that was discussed in this episode, I want to hear about it personally. Please hit me up, Eric, ERIK, at GroupCollect.com. You can always follow the show on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and now on YouTube, or you can just go to GroupCollect.com, scroll to the bottom of the homepage, and you'll find links for the show down there as well. But on behalf of all of my co-hosts, I want to say a reminder to everyone out there listening to stay cool and collecting.
This has been a GroupCollect production.